Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to everybody. Today, we are very honored to present a conference paper entitled From Content to Experience, Why Leadership Learning Sticks. And this is in conjunction of the 8th Kuala Lumpur International Conference on Education, Economics and Technology 2026. To present this paper, I am Fatimah Abu Bakar, and my co-presenter.
And I am Kamaru Bahrain Basa, co-presenting the program.
For starters, we'd like the audience members to enjoy a 2-minute video of a leadership development program that we've done sometime towards the end of 2025. And this is where we have actually observed the tremendous effects of what we mean by experiential learning. Enjoy.
Tell me what it takes to get you feeling alive. Tell me how to show you it's a beautiful life. I'll do anything to pull you into the light, 'cause everything will change when you open your eyes. Yeah. So don't you let the sunlight go out without you.
That was a very interesting video on leadership development. So while leadership development remains a strategic priority for most organizations, especially those seeking sustainable performance, ethical governance, and future-ready talent, many of the leadership development programs, though, continue to rely heavily on traditional lecture-based instructional approaches. While efficient for content delivery, lecture-style methods, though, often position participants as what we call passive recipients of information rather than active constructors of knowledge. So, Puan, in your experience, how do adult learners typically respond to leadership training and development?
Based on my experience as a learning specialist, particularly in leadership development, I noticed that a lot of our learning events, they choose the lecture style. And when I came in and do a different style, this is where they have actually formulate a negative perception that leadership development is dull, it's taking them away from their workplace. It's also no relevance whatsoever to their workplace competencies and job functions. And this is where I think, like you mentioned, the problem statement, things need to change.
Okay. How do learners, adult learners, typically manifest the feeling that this program is not of value to them, or this is, for lack of a better word, a waste of time in their mind? How do they manifest that in a typical lecture-based, for example, environment?
Right. Interestingly, we do a lot of data findings. Particularly, I'm very, very keen to know the effectiveness of the learning program itself in terms of changing the mindset and behavior. So we'll track in terms of the Kirkpatrick level 1. So you will see from the reaction of the learners themselves that the rating is quite low.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 5, a lecture style approach of a leadership development might be around 2.5.
I see.
Yeah.
So in terms of behavior,
Yeah.
during the session itself, if it is just via lecture, how do they behave? Do they fall asleep, for example?
Definitely. Adult learners, as you know, our attention span is very low. It's getting lower as we have all the devices in front of us as distractions, and they become disengaged. You can also see that they tend to enjoy more breaks. So the coffee breaks, lunch break is where they become very lively and they become engaged. Some of them will even sit with the trainers to prompt certain things that they were not able to get from the lecture in class. I had one particular group about a year ago. They brought a lot of snacks into the class. They brought their laptops because they were ready to attend another typical leadership development until to their surprise they were not able to enjoy their snacks, nor were they able to even open their laptop to check their emails.
That's interesting. We'll come back to that. So, is there another better way that adult learners can acquire knowledge under leadership development, and what kind of behavior would we prefer for them to display during these programs?
Very good. As you know, leadership development programs are curated, particularly because as learning specialists, when we talk to the organizations, they have certain intentions that they hire us to conduct the leadership development, and particularly is actually the change of mindset and behavior. And the only right way to do that definitely is through experiential learning.
So it is called experiential learning.
Experiential
Could
learning.
you expand more on that? What does it
Okay.
mean?
Experiential learning is actually designed by David Kolb in 1984.
Okay.
It's by observing the way that adult learners learn. So from the observation, adult learners actually go through 4 phases. So the first thing is they go through the experience. Like what our audience have seen in our video, the away day was actually meant to get not only the team to be aligned but more cohesive, but at the same time they want to be able to change the mindset and behavior of these change agents, that they are more empowered and they are more cohesive in terms of working towards achieving the risk management in their organization, right? So what we have done is actually found a very interesting experiential learning through a Master Chef challenge. So that is going through the experience, and adult learners after going through the experience, they actually have to reflect. They reflect on whether they did a good job, what was the learning points, and then based on that, they conceptualize certain principles. All right? And finally, because of that cycle, the last one is application. So they are ready to go back with their learning takeaway, to go back to the workplace and apply what they have learned through the leadership learning development.
Okay, so if I could just recap, there are the 4 cycle of experience, if we can say, that the leaders, the talents or participants can go through when they attend experiential learning programs. First one is, of course, they will experience the learning rather than just listening
To them.
Then they will use that experience to be able to reflect on the learning and perhaps gain insights from other members of the session. Then they could use that to conceptualize what needs to happen back at the workplace, and of course use that eventually to apply. So it's experience, reflect, conceptualize, and then apply. Is that correct?
Spot on. Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So how is, in general, if we could just summarize what our discussion so far, what would you say are the 2 or 3 points of difference between experiential learning and also lecture-based delivery?
The most important part of the 2 comparison and contrast analysis of the 2 between lecture style approach and experiential learning approach is the fact that the likelihood of the learners to remember the learning points So the retention rate is definitely higher as compared to just listening to a lecture. And just now, we have already established that the adults have got very low attention span.
How long is their typical attention span again?
The most probably is about 20 minutes
In one go.
in one go.
Okay.
Right. And at the same time, remember, it's about the value that we have to take back for the adult learners. So for me to double check whether we have been effective as a leadership learning specialist is the fact that you hear mindset and behavior changes from, especially from the superiors as well as the subordinate at the workplace.
Actual changes.
Actual changes. You know, for example, a leader is more engaging now. You know, before that, maybe being an introvert, he is not aware that he has to engage and motivate the staff at the workplace.
So via experiential learning, they will actually observe and learn what it feels like
Yeah.
to be more engaging,
Yes.
rather than learning the theory of being
Yes.
engaging.
Yeah.
Okay, understand. Right. So we've talked about better learner engagement and also knowledge retention.
Yeah.
Any other point of a comparison? For example, will they be able to reflect better? For example.
Yes, I think as adults, we are very much curious. We are very much into reflection. You know, things that were discussed at the learning events in the classes, we will take back. You know, even at night, you know, we will actually ponder upon what has been discussed and debated.
Okay.
And then we actually will transform. I think that's where Ms. Ores was talking about the transformational learning theory, that experiential learning is allowing that particular transformation to happen.
Okay, I think that is key. When there is actual transformation, the next step will be actual ownership of that transformation. And I think that
Yes.
is key. Without that ownership on the part of the learner
Yeah.
and on the part of the business that actually sends them to this training, then those change would not or may not happen as adequately or even quickly as they would want to be. Yes? Okay.
Correct.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, in essence, what we're trying to say is, in experiential learning, via getting them involved, via the questions, the Socratic perhaps approach that we use more in experiential learning, and getting them to do things which simulate real, actual behavioral activities at the workplace, then they reflect more, they reflect better because they're actually doing it,
Yeah.
and can use that reflection when they go back and apply it at the workplace. Is that correct?
Yes.
So the benefits of experiential learning we have discussed at length as how it is done, how it is different from lecture style of delivery. One of the benefit of experiential learning that I feel must be of note is that it enhances the learner engagement. From my own experience and what I've seen learners said or shared with us is that through the interactive exchange is the medium by which they learn most. That's what enhances the learner engagement. Secondly, experiential learning provides depth of reflection better than just doing lecture style, because learners can take the concepts, the knowledge, and the learnings and reflect it upon their own experience or their aspired experience, what they want to do next. Imagining it is something powerful for learners to take away from even during the session itself. The third point of benefit for experiential learning, I feel, is it gives better knowledge retention, because learners would have to go through bite-sized learnings. It's not taken in as one stretch learning. And typically through the interactions, they could have fun. They could have fun learning from each other, and it becomes more memorable. So that helps in the knowledge retention. And finally, because it is very action oriented, It has points where learners can take away and adjust their behavioral application at the workplace. So turning the learning points into action points. So those benefits that we have mentioned reinforce the findings that we discovered during our study. Three critical conclusions is that number one, leadership is behavioral, not informational. It does not reside only in textbooks. It does not reside in the minds of the professors, but it is something that can be applied. So with experiential learning, we also enhance the emotion that is involved in the learners as they go through the process of receiving those knowledge. That enhances retention a lot. And finally, the third findings that we discover is that reflection converts experience into actual learning.
Okay, so when we have actually funneled down the importance and also the immense benefits of experiential learning as a methodology in leadership development programs, we can see that the pedagogical implications would be to not only for corporate learners and trainers, to bring in experiential learning, but also to professors and lecturers at the universities where they are developing our young leaders. So the pedagogical implications would be, number one is to reduce the lecture time to not more than 20 to 30% of the total learning time. So if you have a 2-day program, make sure that it's not the lecture could be the introduction, the context setting, but more of the experiential learning. Number 2 is to incorporate realistic simulations and problem-based scenarios, like what you have seen in the videos about the MasterChef challenge, as well as a case study. And the third one is to facilitate guided reflection immediately after the activities. And this resonates well with David Kolb's adult learning cycle, the experiential learning cycle, where you experience it and then you have deep reflection. And the next one is to encourage peer dialogue as well as feedback, because one of the fantastic things about attending a leadership development program for adults is that you're not only learning from your learning facilitator, but you're also learning from each other. And you get to get a lot of open and honest feedback. And finally is to integrate post-program and action experiments in the workplace.
So in conclusion, leadership learning sticks when it moves from content to experience. Experiential learning produces deeper engagement, stronger retention, and more meaningful application. The future of leadership development lies not in better slides, but in better design experiences.
In a nutshell, experiential learning does not just transfer knowledge. It changes behavior, and behavior change drives performance. And finally, performance drives return on investment. And with that, we thank you.